So UFC Paris just wrapped up in what was a very entertaining card from top to bottom, and it was capped off by Nassourdine Imavov going out there and stunting on Caio Borralho to get the job done, as I predicted. Now, I did say that I did think that Nassourdine could find a KO in this fight, but ultimately, this was just a striking clinic from Nassourdine Imavov. Like, Caio was in there. He was having some moments here and there, but this was a dominant decision win by Nassourdine Imavov. Now, the question that everyone's going to be asking is this enough for him to get the next title shot? And my answer is yes, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that as we break down the fight. So I was very impressed with what I saw from Nassourdine, but we got to address the elephant in the room, and that is that I was dead wrong about Mauricio Ruffy versus Benoit Saint Denis, right? BSD, he's back in the win column, went out there, executed a perfect game plan, and he exposed the ground game of Mauricio Ruffy. Now, I think that it was a little bit of an exposure, but I also think that it was a very smart fight from Benoit Saint Denis, and he clearly showed that Mauricio has some holes in his game, so we're going to discuss all of that in this video. Like I said, I thought the prelims were absolute fireworks, man. What did we have? A finish on every single fight in the prelims, so this was a fun card from top to bottom. Mason Jones with the comeback fight performance of the year. This was an exciting card, man, and let's start it right off with the main event between Nassourdine Imavov and Caio Borralho. So coming into this fight, I picked Nassourdine to get this thing done, and I did say that I thought that he could find a KO in this fight, right? And my biggest critique has always been with Nassourdine, and I felt the same way in this fight, man. Like, just let your hands go, right? There's times where I feel like, especially in that first round, I know there's a feeling out process, right? I know Caio's a smart fighter. He's kind of gliding around on the outside, trying to maybe bait you into something. But I felt like that was an area where Nassourdine really could have put in some work, man. He was backing him up. He was being really aggressive, and those are the opportunities that I would love to see Nassourdine capitalize on, because when he lets his hands go, he clearly has an advantage compared to everybody else in this weight class. For sure. Absolutely, for sure. And I get not wanting to be overzealous, getting caught by Borralho early on. I understand all of that. But I can't help but feel that every time Nassourdine decides to just go, he doesn't think sometimes, like just doesn't overthink it and just throws his combinations, this guy lands damn near every time and he hurts guys. So this was a very impressive overall performance, right? Caio Borralho did have a round in there. I had it 4-1 Nassourdine. But Caio showed that he's really tough, man. Showed that he's really tough, right? He said a lot coming into this fight, which I figured a lot of that was to build this up. Even though I'm not really a Caio Borralho fan, I figured he was trying to bring some attention to this, right? He's been in the conversation. He was the backup fighter at 319. You know, he's kind of had those conversations about wanting to fight for the title. But the bottom line is Nassourdine Imavov is a way better fighter, right? And that's what my breakdown was coming into this, was Caio has a good ground game, but is it better than Imavov? No, it's not, right? Maybe he had a slight edge there because we've seen Caio Borralho in, grappling competitions. He's got a good submission game, but was it going to be enough to trouble Nassourdine? No. I predicted the grappling to kind of cancel out. The fight would play out on the feet, and we would get a back-and-forth striking match, right? And Caio's like, I stood out there in front of one of the better strikers. Well, that's because you couldn't take him down, right? Because if Caio could take him down and had an easier path to victory, I'm sure he would have taken that. Because if he won this fight, his name would have been right in the hat for a title fight. But now that opportunity goes to Nassourdine Imavov. He has 100% earned a title shot, man. He has probably the most impressive win streak out of all the middleweights right now, right? I know Khamzat's the champion, right? He beat Robert Whittaker, beat DDP. Those are great wins. But in terms of the amount of wins right now, and I'm not talking about Khamzat because he's the champion. I'm saying contenders, because that's what we're looking at here to fight for the title next. Name a guy with a better win streak than Nassourdine Imavov in the weight class right now. He's absolutely earned the opportunity to fight Chimaev next. Right, rattling off a Roman Dolidze win, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, knocking out Israel Adesanya, and now beating a guy who was on, a 16-fight win streak in Caio Borralho? I mean, this was a super impressive performance from Nassourdine. Like I said, man, maybe I'm misreading something. I just feel like this guy can open up even more, especially early on. I feel like he could have capitalized early in that first round there. Right, I understand not wanting to burn yourself out, wanting to be tactical, and make no mistake about it. Nassourdine was in control of the fight from start to finish. He dictated the pace, took the center right away, and I didn't anticipate that. I figured we would kind of see the pendulum, right? Because we see that in Caio Borralho fights where he's pressing forward, then you're kind of pressing him back, and I figured we would see that a little bit. No. This was Imavov pressing the action and controlling the range the entire fight. And if you're going to get stuck on the feet against Nassourdine at middleweight, there is nobody in this weight class that can outstrike this guy. Nobody. Nassourdine is a step ahead of all the middleweights right now, right? And I get it. Sean Strickland technically has a win over him. At some point down the line, maybe we get that fight again. Nassourdine Imavov is elite on the feet, man. He absolutely is. And Caio Borralho is tough as hell. He ate some big shots in there, like Nassoudine's sniper right hand. I mean, the sniper is a super fitting nickname. The way he draws out your attacks, slides in and out of range, his footwork, his elusiveness, his timing, and his speed. I mean, this guy is sensational on the feet, man. We got to start talking about him as one of the best strikers in the UFC right now. And I think he's the best striker in this weight class, right? Maybe that's crazy to say, but I think he is. He was utilizing that good oblique shot to the lead leg of Borralho, good little front kick up the middle. Was looking to counter, which is what made Caio so hesitant. And, Borralho didn't really look like himself in there, right? And a lot of that I feel like was the speed of Nassourdine was so, is so fast that it just makes guys freeze. It makes guys freeze. And that's what we saw against Caio. Every time Caio tried to throw something, you saw Nassourdine counter with 2 to 3 shots, and it would have a significant impact on Caio. Made him hesitant to open up, right? And then Borralho did land some good shots. He was landing some good calf kicks, which I anticipated that because Nassourdine doesn't do very well with guys attacking his leg, and he doesn't really care to address it. Right, but the bottom line is Imavov is a very high-level striker, man. His speed, his eyes, and the way he's got a hell of a chin, too. He ate some nice shots from Borralho, didn't even faze him. I like what I'm seeing from Imavov, man. This was a very, very good performance. While I thought he could get a KO, again, Caio, I don't think he's ever been finished, right? I mean, he's super durable, clearly showed his toughness in this fight, and, I didn't think that he would have any success with the grappling, which is ultimately why I heavily favored Imavov in this fight. Figured that the grappling would cancel out. We would get a back-and-forth striking battle, and if you're going to go back and forth with Nassourdine in this weight class on the feet, I don't think anybody can do it. The speed, the boxing, and the range management, it's next level, man. But he's got to stop with the damn eye pokes. There were a couple eye pokes here. I know there was a low blow from Borralho before, but eventually I feel like a referee is going to take a point at some point. And in a big fight or a title fight or something, that can definitely cost you. So that's something that Nassourdine's got to be careful of, right? Sticking his fingers out. I get it, the open stance battle, trying to control the lead hand. I understand that. But at the end of the day, man, Nassourdine Imavov, this dude is elite. He's absolutely elite. He's on a crazy win streak right now. He's adding some really nice names to his resume, and he showed good takedown defense for what it's worth, right? I know Caio Borralho's not the best grappler in this weight class, and no, he's not an RDR. He's not a Fluffy Hernandez, and he sure as hell is not an Hamzat. But we saw Imavov stuff the takedowns well, right? We saw Brendan Allen take down Nassourdine in round number 1 and have some success, but we've clearly seen that Imavov has patched up some of those holes. He has, and his cardio looked really good in this fight, right? And that was one of the big knocks on Nassourdine is as we start to get into those, championship rounds, we do see him slow down a little bit. I didn't think we saw much of that in this fight. We saw him looking at the clock a little bit, but I think that was him trying to determine, okay, should I open up and start to let it go here? Because when he did, man, he was landing some shots. And you see my frustration with Imavov, man. Like, maybe I'm reaching, but I really feel like this guy could knock everybody out damn near. All the guys that he's just fought at least, right? I know he knocked out Adesanya, but he's got such a significant speed advantage. And I felt like in that first round, he was completely, I know Borralho technically outlanded him on the score, in terms of the striking totals, but Imavov had him backing up, and Borralho was reacting to everything, dude. He was so concerned about the power and the speed of Imavov that I'm like, dude, if Nassourdine can just let something go, I think he's going to crack him. But at the end of the day, Imavov is a smart fighter. Takes his time, builds his reads, and once he gets into that flow state, man, it's a wrap. It's an absolute wrap. When you go out there and you knock out Israel Adesanya in the second round, you're clearly a high-level striker. Nobody's ever done that to Izzy, and that's what I said coming into this. So, again, my concern for Nassourdine is he absolutely has earned a title shot, and he will be fighting for the title next, I believe. The problem is it's going to come down to what happens in that RDR versus Fluffy Hernandez fight, right? Because the reality is, if RDR goes out there and finishes Fluffy, or Fluffy goes out there and finishes RDR, I very much see where the UFC is going to look to go that route for a Khamzat Chimaev matchup next, right? Because we know, but bottom line anyway, Khamzat Chimaev, he's a step ahead of everyone in this weight class when it comes to the grappling. And as good as Nassourdine Imavov is on the feet, which he definitely has the edge over Chimaev when it comes to the striking without question, the bottom line is, even as good as his takedown defense looked in this fight, and we've seen and we know that Nassourdine is good grappling, it just ain't on the level of Khamzat, man. I'm sorry, it's not. And I'm a big Nassourdine Imavov fan. You guys know that. And I think that it would be a great matchup between Khamzat and Imavov, but at the same, I don't know, man. Khamzat's grappling is just on another level. I don't see anyone in this weight class stopping what Chimaev does. After what he just did to DDP, what he did to Whitaker, I mean, who in this weight class is stopping that? Right? And I feel like your best bets are maybe an RDR, maybe a Fluffy Hernandez, maybe an Imavov, right? And the intrigue with Imavov is, look, if he can stop these takedowns from Chimaev, he's going to get taken down, but if he could get back up and keep the fight on the feet, he's got a crazy advantage, I would say, over Chimaev on the feet. As good of a striker and as underrated of a striker as Chimaev, I believe, is, he's good on the feet, but he's not Nassourdine Imavov, man. He's just not. Right, and that's the big intrigue with Chimaev, right? But the reality is he has such an edge when it comes to the grappling, man. He's elite at what he does. I don't see anyone beating, I said that before, I don't see anyone in this weight class beating Khamzat. But the bottom line is Nassourdine Imavov has earned a title shot, 100%. The win streak that he's on, going out there and fighting the number 7 ranked Caio Borralho here when Imavov could have been fighting for the title by now. So, very impressive win. Like I said, I think he will fight for the title next, but depending, like Dana White said, how this thing plays out between RDR and Fluffy, I think that will determine whether Imavov is next or whether those guys get the shot first and then Imavov will get the next one. But to me, I feel like it should be Khamzat versus Nassourdine Imavov next. When you go out there, you KO Israel Adesanya, you stop Jared Cannonier, you beat a solid grappler like Brendan Allen, and you go out there and put on a type of performance like this against a guy who's on a crazy win streak who all sorts of people are high on, and Caio Borralho, who I never really was. Think he's a good fighter, just never super high on him. Very impressive stuff from Nassourdine Imavov, man. Very, very impressive. He's absolutely earned a title shot. Like I said, I was hoping for a finish from him in this fight because if he went out there and KO'd Caio, he's undeniable for the next shot, right? And then he got the hype there because it's back-to-back KOs over Izzy and then Borralho, but I'm just worried that they're going to try to do RDR Fluffy winner to get the next shot because while it was impressive by Imavov, I just feel like the UFC is just going to try to go that route. I said that even coming into this, right? Because it's more of an intriguing matchup on paper because of the grappling edge that RDR and Fluffy Hernandez bring to the table. Stylistically, the way that matches up with Khamzat. But Imavov's no scrub on the ground, man. He's no scrub on the ground, but at the end of the day, Khamzat is Khamzat. I'm not picking anyone in this weight class to beat Chimaev, but I will say this. If Imavov can survive on the ground, get to the feet, stuff some of the takedowns, all big what ifs, it's what we always say with a Chimaev fight, then he definitely has an edge over Khamzat on the feet, but I don't think anyone's stopping the takedowns right now. So the bottom line, Chimaev's going to rule over the division, but I'm super happy for Imavov, man. Big fan of this guy, love his fighting style. Very dominant win over a game opponent in Caio Borralho. Give Imavov the next shot. Next, we have Benoit Saint Denis versus Mauricio Ruffy, what you've all been waiting to hear me talk about. All right, I'm not gonna pretend. I was super confident that Mauricio Ruffy was going to win this fight. I was positive that he was going to win this fight. And yes, I did overlook Benoit Saint Denis' ground game. And I also overlooked the fact that Benoit Saint Denis got a new camp, right? I believe his name is Nicholas Ott, who's training Nassourdine Imavov, which, by the way, when we start talking about Coach of the Year nominations, I would like to see Nicholas Ott's name thrown into that hat because right now, he just might be my leading candidate for Coach of the Year at this point, right? And I know that we only have a few months left in the year, but going out there with the game plan that Benoit Saint Denis brought to the table, right? And he coaches Imavov as well. We see good game plans there. But Benoit Saint Denis fought the perfect fight against Mauricio Ruffy, man. Like, Mauricio's got that Conor McGregor style, very explosive, elusive on the outside. And I was like, look, if we look at the Dustin Poirier fight, I picked DP to knock out Benoit Saint Denis. Why? Because I figured BSD would take him down. Poirier would eventually get back up, turn it into get it into the boxing range, land a good shot, and be able to put him away. That's exactly what we saw. And I figured it's like, okay, well, we got this guy, Mauricio Ruffy, who's an absolute sniper. Whenever you try to close him down, he lands these nasty shots on you. He's very elusive on the outside. He's got this long, wiry frame for this weight class. I'm like, I just see a guy with bad defense in Benoit Saint Denis just kind of moseying into range, getting sniped on the way in. That's how I saw this fight playing out, and Ruffy's not a stationary target. He moves well, right? And Benoit's slow, dude. He is so slow, still slow. Horrible defense, but it works. He was throwing the kick to the body, getting Ruffy's hands to come down, was throwing that high kick upstairs, but he wasted no time getting in the face of Mauricio Ruffy. But as idiotic as we've seen BSD close the gap against his opponents, he didn't really do that in this fight. His entries were actually pretty good. Now, I know that Ruffy, he threw that explosive knee in there, right? He started to let some elbows go. But the bottom line is Benoit Saint Denis exposed the ground game of Mauricio Ruffy. I thought that Mauricio's ground game would be better than what it was. But the credit goes to Benoit here. Right, we know that Benoit's got a good ground game. I had said that I thought it was a little overrated, and I still think it's a little overrated because you saw what happened when he went in there against Moicano. Moicano got destroyed by Islam Makhachev, and Moicano destroyed Benoit Saint Denis. So we're going to say Benoit's grappling is elite. How's it elite? Right, I think it's very good, and it clearly shows us that Ruffy is just not up to par with the ground game. Right, and he was defending takedowns actually pretty good for what it's worth. Right, but then eventually it was the will, it was the grit, and it was just the warrior spirit that BSD brings to the table. You know, this guy looks like Oscar the Grouch, right? With his face, man, you know? And he just comes after you, hell-bent on getting a win, by any means necessary. That's a BSD fight. Perfect game plan. Smudge the striker, take away the space, make him second-guess himself, because I feel like that was the detail that a lot of people might miss in this, right? We all know that, yeah, he took him down, got the submission, nice face crank, attacking the rear naked choke, was getting to the back. We saw Ruffy defending well, would choose to stand back up, which was smart, but then BSD would get right back in on his hips. Push him up against the fence, take him down. But it was the respect that BSD got from Ruffy on the feet that set everything up. That's what this came down to for me. Obviously, the grappling edge, but the fact that BSD was able to land good kicks to the body, was able to land the kick upstairs, was able to pressure, was able to gain some sort of respect to make Ruffy hesitant on the feet. Obviously, that's the grappling, threat that BSD brings, but also those body kicks were nasty. They were nasty, and this was a big step up for Mauricio, right? Jamie Malarkey, James Yontop, Bobby Green, they're not Benoit Saint Denis, but looking at it stylistically, even though I did overlook Benoit's ground game. I did, because I expected Ruffy's to be better than what it was. I did. And that, in hindsight, kind of delusional, man, you know? But I like fighters like Ruffy in terms of the style, right? I didn't care for what he was saying on the microphone, like, oh, you want a boring fight or whatever, then train Sambo or whatever. It's like, dude, look how great fighters are that train Sambo. Look how dominant that skill is, right? I mean, we see a number of fighters. It's a super dominant, martial art to add to your repertoire. And it's a great thing to have in your back pocket because you could dictate where the fight goes. So that was an idiotic thing of Mauricio Ruffy to say. There was a lot of talking from him coming into this fight, and that had me worried during fight week, right? But I like Mauricio Ruffy's style. I like a fun, flashy striker like that, a guy that's going to go out there, he's going to move, he's got good eyes, good countering instincts. We saw him throw a nice knee. We saw some good elbows, but the night belongs to Benoit Saint Denis. It was pure domination. It was pure domination. Fought a perfect game plan. Smudged the striker, crushed the space intelligently, got some respect on the feet. Mauricio Ruffy, he was not able to make Benoit Saint Denis pay in any facet. And BSD's defense is atrocious. Nothing's gotten any better there. I'm not going to compliment the defense because it has not improved. I won't go that far. But what I will say is, Oscar the Grouch Benoit Saint Denis pulled this one off. He proved me wrong, man. Made me look like a fool because I was all in on Mauricio Ruffy, the hype train here. I like his skills. I'm still high on Ruffy, but it's very clear that he's got a hole in the grappling. A hole in the grappling, and it's not just the fact that Benoit had the edge with the ground game. It was the way he was setting it up on the feet, man. He gained the respect on the feet, which opened everything up. Very impressive stuff by Benoit Saint Denis. I got this one dead wrong. I thought Ruffy would flatline him. We saw Benoit take a lot of damage in the Zaleski fight, got knocked out by Poirier. Kyle was landing some good shots on him. You know what I mean? Benoit's been getting battered around. Moicano butchered him up. And then to go out there and kind of throw all that out your mind against a dangerous prospect who's elusive like Ruffy and go out there and fight him like Benoit's the guy like Benoit fought like he was the hype train right now. Super impressive stuff from Benoit. Shows that his mindset is just different. I like what Benoit brings to the table. It just felt like, to me, the stylistic matchup was just kind of, yeah, he has the grappling edge, but he doesn't move his head, has bad defense, seems like he's lost his step, he's taken a ton of damage. It just felt like this was set up for Ruffy to get a KO. And I was wrong. Benoit Saint Denis proved me wrong, put on a great performance. It was a very smart game plan, didn't get away from who he was, pressured, didn't really take much damage at all, crushed the space, earned respect on the feet, took him down. Pure domination by Benoit Saint Denis. Happy to see him back in the win column because I do like Benoit, but I was hoping for a Mauricio Ruffy KO, man. I like watching Mauricio fight. I think he's entertaining, and he'll be back, right? I feel like the UFC is going to be strategic with their matchmaking moving forward, giving them some strikers, and in hindsight, they're probably like, whoa, why'd we give him this guy? You know, but at the end of the day, before they start pushing you towards the top of the division, we got to find out what your grappling looks like, right? And that's what they did with Jean Silva, right? That's why they gave him Bryce Mitchell, and he passed the test with flying colors. But it's clear that Mauricio Ruffy, for as good as he is on the feet, he's got some work to do, in terms of the grappling when he gets into these guys that are going to be in the rankings in a loaded lightweight division. So Ruffy will be back, but the night belongs to Benoit Saint Denis. Great performance by BSD. Really good game plan. And to go out there and forget about all the stuff that's happened in the past few fights, even though he dominated his last one, got butchered by Moicano, KO'd by Poirier. Big bounce back win for BSD. I like the Sarukian. I think he called out Sarukian. I like the Gamrot fight, honestly. I'd like to see Gamrot and BSD next. Sarukian, he'll probably be fighting for the title or a number one contender fight. Benoit's not going to get him. I like Gamrot versus BSD next. Let's book that one. All right, next, we got Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig retired. I'm happy to see that. And, well, sad that because I like Paul Craig. I like the energy he brings to the table. But the bottom line is I've been saying this for a while, and it wasn't to be disrespectful. It was just the reality of what I was seeing. Paul Craig has been washed for forever, man. Like, Paul Craig has not been the same guy. Like, when you're going out there and Bo Nickel doesn't even choose to grapple, which that's why I picked Bo Nickel to beat Paul Craig, because I figured that he would land some decent shots on the feet, but was just going to wrestle him, take him down, and control him. I mean, when you're getting outstruck on the feet for 15 minutes by Bo Nickel in what was a very boring fight, right? Both guys didn't really show much in that fight. It just felt like we're kind of seeing the ghost of Paul Craig here, right? He gets knocked out by Caio Borralho, and he'd been fighting killers, man, for the most part, right? I'm not saying Bo Nickel's a killer, but he's out there against guys like Caio Borralho, right? He's been in there against some good guys, right? Rodolfo Bellato, right? And that funky thing with Bellato, the acting job, right? Which was so bizarre. But, I mean, Paul Craig can ride off into the sunset knowing that he has a sub-win over the champ Magomed Ankalaev, and he's sub-Jamal Hill, right? So, Paul Craig, at the end of the day, say what you want, man. He's got some crazy wins. But listen, it was a matter of time. Happy that he's retired because he's taken a lot of damage, and Modestas Bukauskas completely annihilated him. Look, I thought Bukauskas was going to get the KO in this fight. I think I said in like the second round or something like that, but regardless, it was going to be a stoppage, right? Modestas has a good ground game. He's improved on the feet. He's getting a lot better, right? I still think that there's some holes defensively when it comes to the striking, but the bottom line is he was going to be able to hurt Paul on the feet. Paul's got no defense. We all know that. And then I figured he would follow him to the ground, not be afraid to entertain there, posture up in his guard, land some big shots, playing guard from your back, trying to play the jiu-jitsu game there. Not a good idea against a big, powerful guy on top like Modestas Bukauskas. This was a good win for Modestas. But as crazy as this is to say, like, not to disrespect Paul, but over the past few wins of Modestas, like, is Paul Craig technically the best win for Bukauskas? I don't know that it is. I know it was a close one against who was that Kutilaba, but that might be a better win at this point than a Paul Craig win at this point. So either way, big win for Modestas. I think that he should get someone probably, I'd say, ranked at this point now, right? He's on a nice little win streak here. It seems like he's kind of, I don't want to say a resurgence, but he's really kind of finding himself. Let's give him a back-end ranked guy. That's what I'd like to see from Modestas next. It was a big win here over Paul Craig for the name value, but we all know that that's the ghost of Paul Craig at this point. Even a prime Paul Craig won't beat Modestas. Balaji Oki versus Mason Jones. This was absolute mayhem, man. This was absolute mayhem, and this isn't how I expected Mason Jones to win, but I didn't expect the adversity that we saw in this fight, and that is one of the things about Balaji Oki. He is a super powerful and explosive guy, especially early on in the fight, right? We know he's got a good jab. We know he moves forward. And outside of the Chris Duncan loss, which, by the way, how good is Chris Duncan, right? Going out there, beating Rombetsky, submitting Oki, submitting Jordan Vucenic, right? So some solid wins on the side of Chris Duncan. So I didn't write off a Balaji coming into this fight, but I just feel like Mason Jones is, I mean, he's got some win. He's got, a win over David Onama, right? He's got some, a win over Jeremy Stephens, which I get it. The ghost of Jeremy Stephens. He's more of a BKFC fighter at this point. Fighting Mike Perry, I think, coming up, right? Not a guy checked into MMA, but has power. Right, and I feel like Mason Jones could have easily have won that fight. It felt like he tried to entertain more than he did try to win the fight, right? Which was good for the fans, but if Mason Jones just tried to take down Jeremy Stephens the whole time and control him, he could have done so. And that's what I saw coming into this fight. I figured he would mix it up, have some success on the feet. We see some a little bit lacking when it comes to the defense on the side of Mason, but he's a good fighter, man. Got absolutely rocked and hurt badly in the first round. I thought the fight was probably going to get stopped. And then we get through the round. We get to a round 2, and I'm like, man, I feel like Mason's going to come off the stool. He's going to be trying to shake off the cobwebs. Oki's going to put his foot on the gas and get him out of there. And what do we know? Mason Jones turns the tides, ends up getting the TKO. So far from me, I mean, maybe this is recency bias. I can't remember a fight this year that has a better comeback victory than this one, right? Let me know below, but I'm pretty sure that this is the one, man. This was a great win by Mason Jones. And any guy, his only losses, by the way, are to Mike Davis, who, I know that he's kind of, I don't want to say been like kind of a, I don't know the word for it, but everyone kind of had their high, expectations for Mike Davis, and then he's been kind of inactive and maybe hasn't kind of, lived up to the hype. That is what I was going for Mike Davis. And then we have, who was the other guy that he lost, that he lost to, right? He lost to somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the bottom line is his losses aren't bad. His losses weren't bad in the UFC. Right, so at the end of the day, it's like, Mason Jones is a solid fighter, and then he's like, okay, listen, I'm a good fighter, but I want to go back to the regional scene, get better, come back, and I'm going to be ready to rock and roll. And that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen. Mason Jones, I don't like the damage he took in this fight, but the bottom line is Oki is super good, man. Oki is super good, right? Because that's going to kill me I got to know. Who did he lose to, man? He lost to Klein. So he has a win over David Onama. So he lost to Mike Davis and Ludovic Klein. That's it. Okay. That was going to bother me not knowing. Okay. Big win for Mason Jones, though, man. Any guy that says, hey, look, I'm going to take some time to go get better and then come back to the UFC speaks volumes to the maturity in their career. Mason Jones, I don't know if he's going to be a top guy in the division. That was a big win. Axel Sola, a.k.a. Nick Jonas, the Jonas brother. Hey, man, that's how you go out there and win a debut. Goes out there, displays a well-rounded skill set, right? We know that this guy's got some pretty good cardio, some good grappling, and I expected to see that in this fight, but I thought that maybe the veteran presence of Rhys McKee, while he hasn't been great in the UFC, has one UFC win under his belt, which was against a guy coming off the Contender Series, which is a good time to catch someone in their career, right? But Rhys McKee, I felt like he could have taken advantage of an Axel Solo here, or Nick Jonas, right? I just figured that, Rhys McKee's got a decent guard, decent jiu-jitsu, solid on the feet, and I thought it was an early stoppage too. I did think it was an early stoppage. Now, would Axel have, maybe flattened him out and gotten some extra ground and pound and then it eventually gets stopped? Maybe. But I did still think it was a little bit of an early stoppage. But the bottom line is Axel Sola, that's a big win. It's a big win. While Rhys McKee is not a world beater, making your debut in the UFC, coming out here, getting the job done over a guy like Rhys McKee, it's a step in the right direction. Well done in the debut by Axel Sola. Good ground game. William Gomis, Robert Ruchala, this is exactly what I expected. Everyone would basically have an exciting performance, and then we would see William Gomis go out there and just kind of snooze everybody. No, William Gomis is just technical, man. Did what he had to do, goes out there, sticking and moving, right? And that's the reality with William Gomis. If you can't pressure him, if you can't make it gritty, you can't make it ugly, you're not going to beat him, right? At least these guys that are towards the back-end ranked guys like a Robert Ruchala, new guys into the UFC, you're going to have to go after William Gomis and turn it into a fight. Because if you don't, he'll just kind of point fight the whole time and he'll coast to a victory. That's what I anticipated coming into this. That's what we saw. Good win for William Gomis. Again, not a wow me type of performance, but he still went out there, definitely did what he had to do. And like I said, if you can't make it dirty against William Gomis, clinch him up, wear on him a little bit, get in his face and throw big power shots to kind of back him up and make him throw, he'll just outpoint you and win a decision that way. So good performance in terms of getting the job done by William Gomis, decision merchant. Oumar C, they got, I don't know what's going on with the website here, but Oumar C going out there getting a TKO stoppage. I did predict that in this fight because listen, he was getting a lot of heat off of that loss to Alonzo Menefield, and it was a stinker of a performance. But the bottom line is Alonzo Menefield was sitting on the back foot and kind of patiently waiting for C to chase after him, and that kind of, I think, froze C because he was like, I don't want to crash forward. I'm going to get knocked the hell out. So he had this cautious approach to where in this, Brennanson Ribeiro, he's just going to kind of throw caution to the wind. He's going to be there to be hit, and it's going to allow Oumar C to go out there and do what he does best. He's a well-rounded fighter, goes out there, gets a much-needed stoppage victory. This was a big win for Oumar C, probably the biggest of his career, considering coming off of that, bad performance, basically, hesitant. I wouldn't even say it was a bad performance because he didn't go out there and fight like himself, but it was because of the respect that he had of the power of Alonzo Menefield. And Menefield's not a scrub, right? He's a guy that's been basically a back-end ranked guy in the division. Big win for Oumar C to get back in the win column and to get a finish over a guy like Ribeiro. That's definitely a good one to add to the resume. Big win for Oumar C. Marcin Tybura versus Ante Delija. I picked Delija to win this fight. Now, I can't remember if I said KO or decision. I think I did say decision, but wouldn't have been shocked if there was a KO here. Look, and I was thinking Marcin Tybura for a while coming into this fight, but then I went back and I watched the first fight between these guys years ago, and it was Delija broke his leg right in that fight or whatever happened there. And then you got to see him in the PFL, was I think the 2022 PFL champ. And yeah, he wasn't fighting UFC competition. But at the end of the day, he did beat a Renan Ferreira over there, who I said I think could be a ranked heavyweight in the UFC for sure. He beat Mo Green, who's not the best, but is John Jones' teammate. He's, right, I think he was in the UFC at one point. Ante Delija is, I think, the protege of Mirko Krokop. Right, he's dangerous on the feet. He's got a good ground game, and he's got good cardio. He's faster than Tybura on the feet. He's got big power, as we saw. He was able to put him away. Right, I think he's training with Aspinall now, right? So getting to train with a guy like Tom, that's definitely going to help you. It's going to make you feel more nimble, right? Moving around with Tom, right? Something maybe will rub off on you a little bit when it comes to that. The bottom line is what we knew about Delija coming into this is he's got fast hands, he's got good power, a good ground game to where, what does Tybura bank on? Kind of throwing some awkward shots on the feet, kind of outscoring you like he did to Parkin. But if things aren't going his way when he's taking a beating, then he could take the fight to the floor and have an advantage. That wasn't a possibility in this fight, I didn't think. I felt like if Tybura was getting his ass kicked, it was going to be a KO because Delija has crazy power. Right? And at the end of the day, he wasn't going to be able to play the ground game thing with Ante Delija, man. Delia's got a good ground game, good takedown defense. He's got good takedown offense of his own. Big win for Ante Delija. Coming into the UFC, finally we have a heavyweight. Then that's what I said, man. I said this, right? Because I've been very hesitant. I've picked Patchy Mix to lose. I picked Bautista to beat Patchy Mix. I picked Lerone Murphy to beat Aaron Pico. I've been very hesitant about picking these guys that are coming over into the UFC. But I said in the heavyweight division, that's where I kind of make an exception because heavyweight's different. If you can fight at heavyweight and you can move and throw something, man, you're not just a blob. Right? So you got a chance. It's different at heavyweight. So we were right on this one, man. We were right on this one. Big win for Ante Delija. Excited to have a new guy that actually knocks people out in the heavyweight division, climbing the rankings. Getting a debut fight against, a top 10 guy in here in Tybura. Big win for Delija. Good performance. Harry Hardwick versus Caio Fernandes. So whenever I made my prediction video, I picked Verasiem to beat Caio Fernandes, then that fight fell apart. And I always post a YouTube short when we're like a day or two out from the card. So then that way, if there's fights that fell off, I put a check mark next to who I think is going to win. And I did pick Fernandes to beat Harry Hardwick. And I would have said by KO. Listen, Hardwick is kind of this, he's a solid prospect on the regional scene, right, coming in. And a lot of people were excited to kind of see him get his opportunity at some point. This was just an utter disaster, right? I mean, getting wheelchaired out of there because, look, hopefully the UFC will give Hardwick another opportunity at some point. I mean, this guy, Caio Fernandes, at some point, I was ripping on Guram Kutateladze because you guys know I'm a big Guram fan, and I had high expectations for Guram, and he did not meet them, right? He fell false, way short. But the bottom line is, I think we're going to start talking about how that loss is not so horrible because of the fact that this guy, Caio Fernandes, is a beast, dude. These kicks are filthy, man. Right? I mean, we haven't seen many guys get these leg TKO stoppages, right? We saw Jonathan Martinez do it a few times. I mean, this guy, he's got some hellacious kicks, man. He's fast on the feet. He's dynamic. He's well-rounded, right? And from what we're seeing on the feet, this is a hard guy to stand in front of. Those kicks are fast, they're nasty, and it doesn't take many before you're compromised. We saw that in this fight. There's not much to talk about here other than the fact that Caio Fernandes, he's got some hellacious kicks. Some of the best kicks in the UFC. Low kicks for sure. He's fast. We saw in the Guram fight. I mean, I'm talking more about that than this fight because we knew that this was going to happen, man. Like, this was a nightmare for Harry Hardwick in a debut here. Short notice, which is hard enough. And then you're going to get an absolute killer on the feet with good movement and crazy, fast, hellacious kicks like this. Harry Hardwick was set up to fail here. Like, that's the reality. So, big win for Caio Fernandes. I want to see this guy get catapulted here. Let's really test him in the next fight here. I don't know off the top of my head who. I'm not saying a ranked opponent. I want to see Caio Fernandes tested in the lightweight division here. Let's give him, I don't know. Man, I wouldn't even complain if they gave him a back-end ranked guy. I really wouldn't. This dude is that good, man. He is. Get the Faraz Siam fight rebooked. That was supposed to happen. I was really looking forward to that. Stylistically, would have been very intriguing. So at the end of the day, I think we all kind of expected this. This was a horrible matchup for Hardwick. On short notice, Caio is an absolute savage. Sam Patterson, Trey Waters. Sam Patterson's an absolute stud at welterweight, man. And I did pick him to find a KO in this fight. I think I said the second round, but listen, I think I said KO or submission. I know I said a finish, but the bottom line is Sam Patterson's an absolute problem at welterweight. He's got a sick ground game, really, really good jiu-jitsu, excellent overall grappling skills, good submissions, and just killer instinct, man. I mean, Trey Waters is not a scrub. Trey Waters, I think he only had one loss in his career coming into this, right? He had a little bit of a layoff, but the bottom line is Trey is 6'5", crazy reach, right? And that was one of the few times we've seen Sam kind of be matched in that department because when Sam was at lightweight, I mean, he was just a ghost of himself at lightweight. And that's kind of what I had been saying. And now we are clearly seeing that ever since moving up to welterweight. His power, ground game, durability, everything checks all the boxes. It's not even so much really you haven't seen the durability tested because all these fights have been one-sided. He's aggressive, got right in the face of Trey Waters, rocked him badly with some big power. Trey Waters is no scrub, man. He can stick and move. He's tricky on the feet, but he holds those hands low. And I figured if Sam was able to connect, he was going to be able to hurt Trey pretty badly. This was a statement win for Sam Patterson. He's going to get a big matchup next, man. This was a massive win for Sam Patterson. He's an absolute savage and a real problem in the welterweight division. Big win for Sam. Brad Tavares versus Robert Bryczek. I was surprised about this. I picked Brad Tavares to win a decision here because I hadn't seen enough from Robert in the UFC. He came out and who'd he fight in his debut? I know he lost by decision, and I was kind of turned off by that. I'm trying to remember. He lost to Ior Potieria, and I'm like, okay, so if you're losing to Ior Potieria, well, then I feel like Brad Tavares, even though he's a little bit past his prime, right? Brad Tavares is not a scrub, right? We've seen he's got good takedown defense, right on the feet. He is hittable, but he's got a pretty good chin, even though he saw it cracked by RoboCop, saw it cracked by Bruno Silva out of all people. So kind of bizarre there. Robert's got good boxing, right? Brad was kind of sticking and moving, doing his thing, but eventually Robert set up a big power shot, was able to hurt him and get him out of there. And look, Tavares, he's washed, right? And that was kind of my thing coming into this. Is he? Because he's been fighting good competition. I know the Bruno Silva KO loss, that's horrendous. But getting KO'd by RoboCop, like, okay, RoboCop, if he lands on anybody, he's knocking them out or hurting them or anybody, right? So I'm like, where are we here? Figured he's not in his prime anymore, but a little over the hill. Robert's good, but it confirmed that Brad Tavares is washed. He is officially washed. I'm putting a stamp on it. It's concerning me seeing Brad Tavares, a guy that was known for his chin, getting KO'd, I think, 3 times out of his last 6 fights now? That's tough to see. Big win for Robert, though, going out there and KOing a name like Brad Tavares. Way to bounce back after losing to a guy like Ior Potieria. Andreas Gustafsson versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. I should have known better. And I listened back to my take on this fight, and I literally gave you all the reasons to pick Rinat Fakhretdinov. I said he's the better fighter, he's the better striker, he's the better grappler. I just thought Andreas Gustafsson just had one. He was going to be one of these guys that was going to come along and be not that technical, not really good at anything, but just had this relentless, in-your-face, marauder, whatever the hell the word is, kind of style that just makes for a miserable smudge fest to where it just exhausts you. And as good as Rinat is skill-wise, that doesn't always mean that you're going to be able to beat someone that fights like that. And that was kind of my assessment here. Rinat, better everywhere, better at everything. but it was the fact that we have seen him fade, right? He was coming off of a gifted win over Carlos Leal. We know that Carlos won that fight, even though they gave it to Rinat. Again, Rinat went out there, dominated Brian Battle. That's a win that's aged well. Rinat is on a crazy win streak right now. I mean, I should have picked him to win this fight. I gave every reason to pick Rinat. So hopefully you didn't listen to my pick and you just listened to the breakdown because I told you Fakhretdinov was the better overall fighter. But I just thought that Andreas' style, like the way that he fights, he was just going to be one of those guys where it's like he just doesn't care that you're better than him everywhere. Just smudge you up against the fence, tire you out, wear on you, land these shots in close, and just kind of wins one of those kinds of just marauding type of fights. But at the end of the day, Rinat Fakhretdinov, he's a very skilled fighter, caught him early, and we just saw Gustafsson just kind of fold in there after Fakhretdinov put it on him. Very impressive stuff by Rinat, man. Crazy win streak he's on, too. Last but not least, Shauna Bannon getting absolutely destroyed by Sam Hughes, as I think all of us predicted. I expected this. I thought that Sam Hughes would win a decision. I didn't think she would find a finish, but the bottom line is Shauna Bannon, I mean, she's not good. She bounces in at a range, hey-ya! Right, and that's about it. That's about it. Sam Hughes was better everywhere, more technical striker, had a skill advantage everywhere, especially when it came to the ground game, significant advantage there, better cardio, better at everything other than not yelling when she throws her strikes. That's the advantage that Shauna had. Maybe Shauna's a little more athletic. I don't like Shauna Bannon, in case you can't tell. Was happy to see Sam Hughes go out there, put it on her, take her down, submit her. Good win for Sam Page. Hughes, man. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.